Hello, everyone. Just getting everyone added in. Checking the YouTube.
Gotta say, I like this new time.
Oh, the earlier time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be a bit better on my work day, having it earlier.
Exactly.
I like it too because it's not 1 a.m.
Yeah, it seems to be.
I have to tell you though, I am struggling. So, I haven't gotten back to my normal hours. Like by like 7, 8 p.m. this time, I'm pretty tired. It feels like 11, 12. Like I can't get right.
Can't get right yet.
It takes a while, but you've been there a while. You've been there for 2 weeks. You should be acclimated.
I think part of the problem was 2 weeks was in quarantine, and you're not walking around. And I think part of like adjusting is like going out to dinner and then like staying up a bit because just normal life. But we didn't have that. So we got dinner at like 5 p.m. because that's when they fed us, like through the feeding door, it felt like. And then like 7 p.m., I don't know what you do.
Yeah, whenever
sleep. Didn't help anything.
I travel, I like try to go to bed at the local bedtime, and then the next day you just gotta force yourself to have like activities and be busy all day. And even though it's murder and torture, then you fall asleep again at the local bedtime, and then usually you can start to recover.
But I never got that.
Yeah.
I was trapped in that little room, not doing anything. I was just left to my own devices. It's been terrible in terms of getting right on the time zone.
Yeah, that's got to be murder. But you'll get there eventually. You got the solar system at play, and I think they'll win over time.
I hope so.
So
I think I'm just gonna drink myself to sleep 4 nights in a row and get there.
Or you could do that. That works too. So yeah, today's episode, we're going to talk about technical SEO triage, and I'll talk about what that is, and I'll paint a picture. But first, we'll go through a little bit of boilerplate. So SEO this week, Clint, what can people expect?
Nice light episode this week. Go over 8 news stories, and then I talk about a little bit about how I use pop and phrase combined to do writing outlines for writing teams. So it's pretty good.
Nice.
I'm trying to defeat phrase. I hope phrase isn't watching. But slowly but surely, I'm trying to take away all of their edges.
So if you haven't seen Clint's show, you've been living under a rock, but you should still check it out. It's on YouTube. You go to YouTube, search for SEO This Week to find it. You could also go to digitalear.com. And just remember, we need your subscriptions. YouTube advertising for SEO shows does not pay any bills. The SEO Fight Club advertising makes about $100 a month, and it takes a whole lot more time and effort to do the show. So it really is a labor of love. And the thing we need the most from the audience are subscriptions, and they cost you nothing to show your support for the content. So please do subscribe and check it out. And on that topic, there's a new player in the SEO YouTube arena, and that's Dre DeVera, and his show is called SEO Video Show. So you go to YouTube and you search for SEO Video Show, he'll be the top one. He has a guest, Kevin Rowe, coming on his next episode. His show's on Fridays at noon Pacific time. And he is in the last 25% push to get to his big milestone, his first big milestone, which was 1,000 subscribers. So please, please, please check out his show and subscribe. We all want to see him get there. It's a very important milestone because at 1,000 subscribers, you get all of the professional features and the YouTube creator interface. So be sure that you subscribe, check out his show. His lineup, his upcoming lineup has amazing guests. And so if you want to find out, how these people did it, what they do, how they see the world, this is a great show for that. I don't know of anybody else who's doing a show like his show. What do you think of it, Kyle?
I love it. I think the production value is so high, especially compared to this low rent show that we do. I mean, he clearly cares.
Hey,
and it really shows that we clearly don't.
Well, I've got $100 budget, so
he's doing a phenomenal job. I enjoy watching the show. Just everybody who's visible right now, we're all putting on content, and I am super impressed with his level of professionalism. He's really doing just a great job, and he's also carving, as you said, he's also carving out his niche, which I love, and I think it's a great show. It's very enjoyable. He's doing a really good job.
What do you think, Clint?
I think it's horrible. It's the worst show ever. No, he's doing awesome. I like the way he sets it up. I like the amount of time. Obviously, you could tell that he's putting into it. And he sent me one of his T-shirts and had his brother make me a polo for SIA, polo top like he's got in his thing. So
you got a T-shirt?
I got a T-shirt. That's more than I can say for you guys. I never got a Fight Club T-shirt, but I got an SEO video shirt.
T-shirts are crack cocaine.
Yeah, I didn't get a Fight Club T-shirt either. They all went out to viewers.
Andrew needs to fix that.
People ask me for T-shirts all the time. I'm like, I control no T-shirts. They don't trust me with that.
Yeah, we should make a show store. I bet we could sell them.
Yep.
We'd sell like 5, maybe 6.
Well, that's a success in the T-shirt industry. But check out Dre's show. He's at about 650 subscribers right now, so he's really close. So we really need your support to get him to that important milestone. Please show your support and check out SEO This Week and the SEO video show. We definitely need your support. So Lauren, what's going on at IMG?
All right, well, let's see. On Thursday, we wrap up the premium SEO site audit presentation, so you can watch for that in the community. And then we have a pro tip coming into the community on Friday. And then Tuesday, Ted, we're doing a AMA. So, nice. And then we also have a contest coming out soon. So,
ooh, can you share details, or is that still in stealth mode?
Yeah, I can share details. We are going to give away about $1,000 1-year free subscription to Supermetrics.
Nice. All right, so high value contest coming up.
Definitely.
Very cool. Yeah, I saw Kyle's AMA yesterday, and it was really good. So if you're in IMG Premium, you should definitely catch that replay. It was a good one. What did you think of it, Kyle?
Waste of time. No, I mean, like, you guys might not know this about me, but I love to hear my own voice. It is one of the things that I like the best. So people ask me questions, I get really excited. Have you ever been in a situation where like you're about to meet somebody and like you've got your hand out to shake them in times when you're allowed to shake hands, and I can't hear anybody's name because I'm so excited to say my own. And that's basically what the AMA is for me. It's like just an opportunity to talk, and I get so excited. So I absolutely love it. Like,
well,
wait, all you do is ask me questions, and I just get to talk. Yeah, I'm down with that.
it's good to be aware of that, but the AMA actually had some good content in it, despite
That's
ego.
gravy.
Excellent. So back to today's topic. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off. And hopefully if Lee is here, he can turn his mic on. He was having technical difficulties, so we understand if you can't. All right, so technical SEO triage. So what this is, I want to paint a scenario. And that scenario is you've woken up, it's first thing in the morning, and your SEO is in smoldering ruins. And you haven't changed anything on the website for weeks, and there is zero chatter about updates. Where do you start looking for clues? And that's what I mean when we're talking about technical SEO triage. And most of the time with this topic, this is typically going to be how businesses shoot themselves in the foot. Sometimes it's external and unrelated to what your business is doing, but probably 80% of the time, this is self-inflicted injuries. So before we dive in, Kyle, what's your experience with these types of situations?
I didn't mean to turn my camera on. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Camera off. So in these situations, I always want to go into it with the mindset that the numbers are wrong. So, you see like your metrics fall off a cliff. I always want to think that that's not correct. In the same way, I always want to think it's not correct when they go the other way. They spike unexpectedly. And, before you send that email to the client, as I do a lot of client side or most of the client side, before I send that email, I want to like evaluate that spike to be like, is that a real thing? I also do it the other way. Take a deep breath. Whenever you see things go crazy like that, take a real deep breath. What could have caused this in terms of like, and I always start with this number isn't real. Something has caused this to happen that is making the number that I'm seeing as a not correct number. And I start from that approach.
That's a good way to go. Clint, what do you think about this topic?
I call the client and ask what they had their dev change.
Exactly.
Usually,
exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. A lot of it is you can kind of, if under the scenario that you stated, that's usually the number one place to go look first is what did you guys change, or what did you do to the server, or who got the good idea to change what, and what was it? That kind of question. Those kind of questions is typically where I usually start.
Yeah, and that's right on the money. So this episode, we're going to go down my list of the things that in the past I would look at. And in my background, I did online retail, a very large online retailer. And sometimes these mistakes would be like $50,000 an hour mistakes until you get them fixed. And so I'm going to go down some of the things I encountered in my experience, and we'll talk about those. And this will probably be a 2-show episode. I don't imagine we'll get through the full list today. So the first one is checking your tools and your data. So the most common problem is people wake up and they see that their rankings across the board have fallen through the floor. And rank trackers are notoriously flaky. Anytime Google updates the HTML of the search results, all those rank tracking tools out there can break. And when that happens, everybody sees that, every ranking they had just fell out of search simply because the rank tracker isn't parsing any of the results. And so it looks like you lost all your rankings. When in fact, if you actually go to Google and check a couple keywords, you'll see that, in fact, absolutely nothing has changed. Have you guys encountered that with clients?
It's a very common thing. One thing that I feel that's a little more recent is people will tell me that my rank tracker says I'm number 1 for this term, and then I search for it and I can't find it. And again, it's the issue that the tool isn't giving an accurate result, or a result that they can then share or be confident in. But I think it's the other side of the coin on the same problem.
Yeah.
That,
you will see that quite a lot when you look at the keyword reports in Google Search Console, because what you'll end up seeing is something that ranked like momentarily, like Google was testing a page for a keyword and the test failed. So you don't rank for the keyword, but you see that test in the keyword report. Oh, I got 2 impressions of being number 4 for this awesome trophy keyword. The key takeaway is you got 2 impressions, and that's where it ended.
I tell people that all the time. It's like your site ranked in Albuquerque on Tuesday at 1 a.m. for that term, and Search Console has decided to call it whatever that ranking position was.
Yeah, feel good that you got number 4 for it, but the multiplier is you were number 4 for 2 impressions. Yeah, that's
Right.
nothing. That's the same thing as not ranking. Can you hear me? So that's typically where I start is, is this data, accurate for what the situation is? The next thing I often do is I'll check the status of my servers. And a lot of people have dashboards and uptime monitoring. Just make sure that like your file server isn't offline, because if you just have one system down and it's critical, then everything else could be working just fine. You just got to fix that one thing. So normally I like to check those things. It's uncommon, but hard drives fail, network cards fail, internet wires get flaky, people forget to pay bills, all kinds of things can be diagnosed just by checking your server status. Have you guys encountered any server status issues lately?
When I was working on Find Us, we did. It's the size of the site and the amount of traffic that it came in. All of a sudden, just kind of threw off the cloud network setup we had going on. So that's a good place to look, especially for indexing issues.
Yep. And sometimes things like a flaky network card or a crackling internet cable that changes its state every time you kick the cable under your desk. Those types of things can be difficult to diagnose because they aren't 100% problem. You might find that they fail, 2 out of 10 tries. And so you can actually have a 20% server problem where it's kind of responding, but not always responding. And so you got to be able to diagnose those types of partial outages as well.
Is there a particular tool you recommend for, checking, server status on different hosts?
Well, I would probably advise that you get one of the uptime monitoring services. There's a lot of them, and they all have different features, and they have different alert capabilities. But generally, it depends how big your company is. So if you're working for a large company, you probably already have a network administrator who's already watching this for you. In which case, you just got to let them know that you want to be alerted when they have issues. But if you're at a small company and nobody's watching, then you start looking at these uptime monitoring services, and you sign up for them, and you put all of your domain names and important URLs into them for monitoring. The next thing I often like to do is to check my integrations, because a lot of time people will see problems with the website in other systems like Google Analytics. And the two big issues that seem to commonly repeat across the internet is, somebody updates their WordPress theme, and because they manually put in the Google Analytics code into the theme, upgrading the theme made the analytics integration go away. So if you don't do that properly, if you do that in a custom way, it can vanish on you when you update your WordPress. And so that makes it look like all your traffic went away when in fact nothing had changed. The other issue is that people get lots of plugins and they enter in all the settings multiple times and multiple plugins, and you end up getting your analytics code multiple times on the page. That has the opposite effect. That like multiplies your traffic signals. And so then you're overstating what's happening on the website, and it no longer reflects reality.
And you're a hero.
Yeah, you at least look awesome until they figure out what's actually going on.
The biggest indicator there, Ted, is the click-through rate goes to like 0.8%. I mean, excuse me, bounce rate goes to like 0.8%. It's like, well, we're crushing it. We have no bounce. Nobody's bouncing.
Yep. And yeah, and so you gotta be careful with those integrations. And so I often, if it's related to reporting, outside of your conversion funnel, your payment processor, if it's outside of that and it's reporting, you want to check those integration points. And then this group, I don't know why, but I always look at these at the same time together, because for some reason I always kind of feel like it's its own category of problems, and so I want to check them all at once. And that's the robots.txt, the HT access and the redirects, the Google Search Console configurations. Are they blocking the home page? The meta tags that affect indexing and crawling. Are there any manual actions? And is there a recent flood of Search Console errors? All these things I kind of like to check together. What do you guys do with these?
Yeah, I think the checks here, once you start doing one, it kind of carries you on to the rest of those, right? So manual actions and Search Console errors. Manual actions is probably more important than the errors on that list because the Search Console is so busted hotness right now. But that would kind of go along with the check the server. So check the server, check for manual actions, and then do the rest of that stuff. But that would be more of a what did you change kind of thing, and you could probably find those out when you're talking to your clients in the first place. So.
Yeah, I do see manual actions as a separate thing because that is where Google has sat down and you've been naughty, and they've specifically said this is how you've been naughty. The rest of the things are errors that can happen just in the usual course of business.
I agree with that. It's definitely a different beast, but what I still find is I still check them at the same time I check these things, and that's kind of why I grouped them together. In the Google Search Console errors, the two things I typically look for are there 500 errors that Googlebot is seeing? Because that's a big problem if you see that. And then is there a flood of 404s, which often indicates that somebody has pointed a new domain at the website. And so I like to check those. But, it's easier in the old Search Console versus the new Search Console. I still miss.
Well, that and the data is 24, 48 hours old.
Yeah.
Like right now, it's 14 days old. So if you're looking there and you're finding problems there, you're 2 days behind.
Yep. And then SSL and DNS issues. So I've seen a lot of people just accidentally let their Let's Encrypt certificates expire because they didn't know how to set up auto renewal on those. And when you get those free SSL certificates, they're only good for a few months and then they expire and you have to get new ones. But there are documented procedures for configuring your server to automatically renew those. So not doing that step leads to certain types of outages where people get scary warnings about the certificate instead of seeing the web page. And then, of course, what we just mentioned, did someone just point new domains at the website? Used to work for a business where the owner had thousands of domains, and you would just go out and buy a dozen and point them at the money site. And so every few days we'd get another dozen domains, and most of the time it's pretty benign, but eventually he'd get one that was, penalized into oblivion by Google. And when you get one of those special gems, your website feels it when you point it at the main website. Now, you can get around it. Google eventually lets you through, but it's like a 2-3 week pain period if you don't hop on it right away. Network administrator issues. So if you're at a larger company and there's a network administrator, when that guy starts cussing at his desk, you probably want to be aware of what's going on. And usually what's happening there is, there's either an attack on the servers or some network appliance is on the fritz and needs to be replaced, or he needs to go to the co-location facility and fix a server. There's any number of things, but odds are whatever he's fighting, there's a good chance it's going to affect your organic traffic and your SEO. So it's good to be in regular contact with those people in your business. I always preferred to have my desk right next to engineering so I could be aware of all of the issues that pop up in the bullpen. That's the best way to stay informed and be able to react fast. Do you guys ever get clues about fires from engineering?
No, that was my question. Let's say you're a normal human being and you don't have a network admin person. What would you do? You've got your WordPress site and you've got that on your regular hosting. You're paying $29 a month for. Is this anything you need to be concerned about?
Well, what ends up happening is you are your network admin at that point. So you are this role. So you need to get on those uptime monitoring services. And when you're hosting and internet providers send you maintenance announcement emails, you need to read them carefully and find out how they're going to impact you before they get into maintenance mode. You need to time things appropriately. And because reading those emails, that's going to keep you from attempting to do a large mailing list campaign while your server is out. And so you got to be aware to not make those mistakes. And if your SEO has gone to shit and the ISP or the hosting provider is just having a temporary outage, that may change the rest of your action plan as to how you triage and react to what you're seeing. So it's good to check and know. A lot of businesses have, an engineering department that has lots of web developers and testers and network administrators and project managers. And so if you have that type of engineering business unit in your company, it's good to be aware of their deployment schedule, because like Clint said at the very beginning, what did the engineer deploy last night? Because that's when everything went to shit for SEO. And so knowing that schedule, knowing that the outage coincides with a website version deployment, is an important detail. And so you can figure out that it's, probably not something you did, probably something in this new website build. So have you guys been sabotaged by engineering?
No, we're not cool enough. I deal with a lot of companies, and they have their whole schedule, and it's never been a problem in terms of these are the things we're doing now, and these are the things coming up. I've actually never run into issues with that.
Well, not all companies have the same problem set. It depends how well you plan. So if you have lots of developers that are deploying constantly, there are some organizations that will redeploy a website once a quarter. Some organizations will redeploy the website multiple times a day. So it depends what type of development environment you're in. But I definitely saw it a lot as an in-house SEO, so it may be more of an in-house issue. What about you, Clint?
No, with the projects we were running on OTT with our own dev teams and some external ones, we kind of headed that stuff off by using dev stage sites. So if they did deploy something, we kind of knew in advance what was going to happen to the live site, and we were able to be there and say, "Hey, this is busted, and they go fix it right away." So.
Yeah, and Clint is the ultimate tester. He can break anything. But yeah, having staging is a great asset. And then, of course, the repository change logs. It's good to know if the drop in SEO performance coincides with the addition of a feature into the web application. So we've seen things like this in the past where people would, add in faceted navigation to a store after the fact, and then their SEO tanks. Well, that faceted navigation probably caused an infinite crawl for Googlebot, and SEO got very bad very quickly after adding that type of feature. So that's the type of thing that can happen, and being aware of what features are being added to the source code, looking at those GitHub commit logs, if you're able to read them, can be very telling as to the nature of the changes that were happening and specifically when they happened. A/B testing is another big issue. I've had on many occasions people using Optimizely just cause tremendous calamity. At one point, one individual wanted a feature put into the store, and engineering said, no, we shouldn't do that. So he went back to his desk and said, well, I can do it using Optimizely and force it on the website. Well, Optimizely's JavaScript, it's not really load bearing for large amounts of traffic, and he ended up breaking the store by trying to do an end run around engineering. I've also seen it where they've done tests where they put additional page views where they're like, well, we'll show our modified page first, but then we'll randomly select back into the original home page, and we'll see which one is better. But what they didn't realize is that randomly select back into the original home page ends up being 2 page loads for 1 page view. So all of a sudden, the world experience for half our traffic is double the page load time. So A/B testing can be very problematic if it's not done properly. Have you ever had issues with Optimizely?
I haven't.
Nah.
Well, Another thing to consider if you're in a larger environment, and there's a lot of that going on, and a lot of times you do get infighting between marketing business units and engineering, and Optimizely created a route for marketers to do things without engineering approval. So it's important to keep an eye on it. Just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should. Peak traffic is another one. I believe you touched on this at the beginning. What a lot of people never plan for is success. You get into your business and you're like, I'm going to try 15 things and see which one of them sticks. It's very, unlikely that you hit the jackpot, but sometimes you do. And if you get a huge amount of traffic from it, that can bring you down just as fast as any of the other mistakes. Have you guys ever had issues with scaling? Bueller? Guess.
Our high traffic sites we haven't really run into, but like in particular one site we anticipated it, so they set up some Amazon like ninjas hosting crap, right? So the WordPress files were on one server, the database was on another server, and the ones that actually handled the traffic were on 3 other servers. And as the traffic increased, it just deployed automatically another server. So I haven't run into this one. And it seems to me that'd be like the best problem to have, but I haven't run into it.
It is a good problem to have, but it's a hard one to react to quickly. Like if your hosting package doesn't allow for the amount of bandwidth you're getting, hopefully the ISP can just, allocate a setting and give you more like bandwidth. But in some of the older ISPs, you have to physically change servers, and that can be a big problem, especially if you have shipping cutoff dates or you need to turn the inventory. So it's one of those things where, usually the thing people never plan for is success because they figure it's the good problem.
Ted, do you find that this happens much? I can see it on Black Friday, for example, or if you have a blog post or a piece of content that goes viral and you're on a small hosting package, something along those lines. Are there any other ones that you see that are common?
Yeah, a lot of them tend to be promotional in nature, and this is from a different bullet on this list. But one of the examples in my experience was the marketing team decided to create a new promotion type that they called an add to cart promotion. So they had all these ads running in social and pay-per-click that when you respond to the ad, when you click it, it would bring you into the store and automatically add the promotion item into your shopping cart and give you an enhanced are you ready to check out button. And so that was the add to cart promotion. It was wildly successful, but the problem was the shopping cart couldn't handle it, because normally the normal amount of people adding to cart and checking out is, kind of at one base level. But because of the nature of this promotion, sending it out to 250 million Facebook fans, all of a sudden we had 6 or 7 orders of magnitude more add to cart activity. The cart was never built to scale like that. And so that promotion, while it was a good problem to have, its initial incarnations completely failed because they swamped the cart. And that's an example of a feature can kill type of scenario. Loss of origin traffic or backlinks. This is when your website relies on a very high authority backlink, And a lot of my properties used to fall prey to this because we had a limited number of these, and I would focus them all on the current promotion. If one of those links goes away, then whatever that promotion item is just tanks. So losing of important backlinks. I think the common occurrence of this is people doing weird stuff with their disavow file, disavowing too much. Have you guys had any experience with this?
On the disavow thing, yeah, people get a little bit too aggressive, or they'll get lazy, and the tool will say, "Oh, this is a bad backlink. You should disavow it." So they just go full out and just do everything that the tool says, and at the same time, they're essentially removing backlinks that were helping them rank because they didn't bother to go through and look through and filter. So I've seen that a lot.
Yeah, in my whole career, which is spanned, approaching 20 years now, I have disavowed 2 links, 2 domains. And I disavowed the whole domain. Like in the disavow file, you can disavow specific URLs or complete domains. So the only 2 times I ever used that feature were when they were toxic domains redirected at my money site. I could see them explode as 404 errors in Google Search Console. Our rankings were tanking, and I disavowed those domains. I don't know if the disavow of those domains fixed it, or if Google just eventually detected the issue and corrected it. But those were the 2 times I used the disavow, and both times we recovered. Has disavow ever worked for you?
Oh yeah, I've recovered sites with just doing disavow. The fastest one was a week, and that was in the adult niche, and they had a full-on manual penalty. We did the disavow, sent in the reconsideration request, and in a week we were back up and running. So that thing, it works. You just have to use it smartly. And the general rule that I tell people is, if you don't have a manual penalty, don't mess with that tool. And the reason I say that is because most people don't take the time to filter their backlinks and don't know which ones are ranking their website, et cetera, right? So you can do more harm than good. But if you know what you're doing, you're manually reviewing your backlinks and stuff, you can stay ahead of negative SEO attacks, which, despite all the claims, link negative SEO attacks still work. So you can stay ahead of those with the disavow tool just by paying attention and being smart with it.
Well, let's see where we're at. Okay, so we're at 16. So we should probably stop here and answer a few questions, and then we'll finish this list next week. Oh.
I'm so proud of you, Ted.
I know Kyle's happy because I actually kept an eye on the clock this time.
So not just the clock, but the number of slides. The slides are the issue.
Very, very true. To cover a topic properly, it takes more slides. It's hard to do this topic and limit it to 9 slides. It's a tricky thing to pull off. But I definitely don't want to run too long, even though I know a lot of our viewers wouldn't care if we ran on for hours. We know that other viewers have a work day they have to get back to. So with that, we'll see if we have some questions here.
Here, I have one for Clint.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
If I wake up in the morning and I find that my site is tanked and everything else, and I think that I've been the victim of a negative link spam attack, what are the clues that you look for, Clint, that say, yeah, that's probably what happened?
Well, first, it won't happen like that. Short of them hacking your website. You know what I mean? And creating the PHP hacks. You guys have all seen those, where they inject some kind of PHP into your page, into your website. Usually, typically, is through a server gap. And then create a whole bunch of pages and then build links to those pages. But you're going to see that if you're diligent enough, you're going to see that before it just drops all your rankings. You're not going to see a situation where, I was ranking fine today, and then yesterday I saw all these bad backlinks, and now I'm not ranking anymore. That's it doesn't work that way. Google's not that fast. Google doesn't give you credit for your backlinks that fast, and is not going to give you your negative SEO attacker credit that fast. So, but I use tools like link research tools. That's a good one. If you have a crap ton of backlinks, you're going to need link research tools. There's no way around it. There's not many that handle that volume of links on the cheap. So link research tools, the $4.99 plan is probably the best for that. And then if you're just a little thing, or you got a little set of backlinks, like under 100,000 total backlinks to analyze, you can do use a cognitive. You can use even SEMrush and Ahrefs have tools, but bear in mind that all of those tools don't have all of your backlinks. So you got to pull in from Search Console, Moz, Majestic, Ahrefs, everywhere that you can find possibly to give a link source and combine those all in one place to do it right. And then you sit down behind your computer with a cup of coffee and start going through your backlinks. It's really, that's the way to get around that. But I think you'll find that most people who say they've been negatively attacked, you can look and it's not that. They just don't have really good backlinks.
I think, well, that goes back, I think, to our earlier talk at the beginning on what is a negative attack, and all the technical issues that can happen, just the day-to-day things that can happen. And I've said this a million times. I think 90% of negative SEO is self-inflicted. I think a lot of people want to just be like, oh, it's links. In the same way that how I ranked was links, my negative is links. And then they don't look at all the other things that are going on.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the worst negative SEO attacks I've had to deal with didn't involve spammy links at all. Yep. And so if your definition of negative SEO is only spammy backlinks, then you've got the blinders on. I want to make a shout out to Drew Spinoso, who contributed $10. So that will go with our advertising budget. That'll go to help promote the channel. So thank you for that. He had a question. He says, hey, can you talk about the Google changes that affect Google Stacks? And I think probably the best expert on this topic in the world right now is probably Clint Butler, because I know you've done research on this topic.
Yeah, it's also gotten me in trouble and lost me some online friends. So
that's what lost you the online friends.
Yeah, online friends.
Now,
I lost my online friends.
For the record, Clint ran the tests. He didn't choose the outcomes.
No. So basically, I guess the short version is, before you could make the drive stacks, the sheets, drawings, documents, you can make them all public to the web right inside of your share settings, right? You clicked it and it said online to the web and gave you 5 different options. And now the default in your accounts is available with the link and then restricted. That's it. That's all you get in the defaults. Under those two methods, when using them as rank, under that setup, when using it as link opportunities, like we were doing before, they actually have zero value whatsoever. They didn't push the link up, didn't push the link down. As a matter of fact, the only one that I saw that actually pushed a site down was Google Maps, and it was only on one test. It didn't do it again. It was just kind of a fluke. But there is absolutely no linking value if your folders say available with the link or available to the web. or your documents say available to the web. If they say that you bought that from a provider, you got ripped off. Now, there are a couple providers that know this, and I used to promote one of them, but he is an asshole, so and hates me now because I said that stacks don't work. And they have a method that you can change your folders and your documents to actually still say public to the web. It has to say public to the web. And there's software tools. Staxio is one of them that when you publish the folders that it makes, it say public to the web and the documents say public to the web. And those are the ones right now that are still indexing. And those are the ones that we're assuming, I haven't gotten that part of the test yet, is going to actually still be link targets. But if they're still indexing, they're still going to pass link use, my assumption. So it's kind of that's where it is right now.
So there you go. This is a tactic that most definitely did work in the past, and it sounds like there are ways it still can work, but it sounds like Google's making changes, so it's harder to exploit unless you know about those nuances. So hopefully those people that are mad at Clint, they should actually be buying them a beer, because Clint just gave them the intel on how to keep their products and services effective going forward. They just have to adapt with the changes Google has made. And I don't think it's right to blame Clint for discovering that Google made those changes. That doesn't seem appropriate. What do you think, Lee?
I absolutely love those tests. I love any test that sparks controversy, because there's the hardest part out there is when you test things that people hold as sacred cows, and you find that they don't work the way that people believe they. Then you become a target, because they don't want to change with the data. They shoot the messenger. So I love tests like that. I love the fact that Clint did that, particularly because I was getting ready to jump into that arena, and he did it for me. So I'll buy him a beer just for that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Clint, but in the past, you were an advocate of Google Stacks, right?
Oh yeah, and knowing what I know, I can still say to use them, but now there's a caveat to them. They still work. They worked in the past, and they still work now, and they're great tier ones. But now there's a caveat versus just do it and you're going to rank and the sunshine's going to go flying out your ass. It's just not the way it is anymore.
Yeah, so it sounds like some people need to change with the times, and hopefully they do. I think you gave them a gift when you let them know how the world had changed. And so that's the type of thing we actually want to bring to light. We try not to be invested in the outcome, and sometimes the outcomes are things we like, and sometimes they're things we don't like. But really, at the end of the day, we just need to know the truth of the matter, the fact of the matter, so that we can ultimately make the best decisions for the business and for the clients. And that's really what matters most. So I think we are all out of questions. So any final thoughts, Kyle?
Nah. That's what I have to say.
How about you, Clint? Any final thoughts?
No, I'm good.
Anything to announce? You got any speaking engagements coming up?
No, I'm trying to get onto the speaker for State of Search that Bill Hartzer hosts, or he's the president of the board or whatever. I'm trying to get onto there, so we'll see how that works out.
Nice. Well, then with that, we'll head back to networking. I want to thank everybody for coming and watching the show today. And we only got through half of it, so I know there's a lot of people out there saying, what about X? What about Y? We'll talk about X and Y next week. So have a good week. Take care, everyone.